Hi, I'm Ruth Stewart. I'm a rural GP. I live and work on Thursday Island now. I've been there for the last 12 months. I've been working as a rural GP for a long time, since 1989. My husband Tony Brown and I lived and worked in that little town, Canberra in southwest Victoria for a bit over 22 years. We were the doctors, we were GPs in the clinic, and also looked after our patients in the hospital, really doing the cradle to grave care, and it was a wonderful time. The departure of our youngest child to boarding school when he was 14, that made us look around and think, we always said that we'd be working remote. Maybe now's the time to go. Yeah. So in 2012 we moved to North Queensland. I took up a job with the James Cook University as the Director of Rural Clinical Training and Support. And Tony became Senior Medical Officer and then the Director of Medical Services for the Tablelands region of Cairns and Hinterland Hospital. A year ago we moved to the Torres Strait, and that's a very exciting place to be and work, and love the culture. And I think I've got a bit of an issue that I went into medicine thinking that all doctors were like rural doctors, because I was a rural kid. When I was about 3 years old, I used to idolise our doctor. He was a lifesaver and absolutely inspired me. So I went into medicine wanting to be a doctor like that, and it was only after I started my medical degree at Melbourne University that I realised that it really came home to me that there were lots of other models of being a doctor, and that most people expected me to be something else. I wanted to do something that would make a difference, and I know that in rural communities the health outcomes are poorer, so if you want to make a difference, you can make much more of a difference by working in a rural or remote community. Yeah, so it's the variety, it's the patient connection, it's the ability to really make a difference, and it's the continuity of care. Love that, just love it, yeah. In 1997, ACRRRM formed, and not immediately, but the 1990s, I was having babies. I was working, doing my work as a rural GP and having babies, and I really didn't do anything beyond the family and the work. Lexia Bryant and Joe Wainer at a meeting that they had dragged me to, and invited along to an ACRRRM thing, and it was like the lights came on. I thought, I'm not some crazy woman from the back blocks beefing on about on my own little soapbox. There's a whole community of us. It was such an affirming experience, and to find that there are other people who cared passionately about the future of rural health and how to get more rural doctors was such a relief. It felt like coming home to a home that I didn't know was there. That's what ACRRRM means to me. Oh, it's just such an incredible privilege to have been elected by my peers to lead the college. It's fairly scary proposition at the moment. This is day one, and we started today with a breakfast with the past presidents, all of whom I know very well and are friends of mine. But sitting at that table, listening to them talking and thinking, I have to step into your shoes. I think it's a very exciting time for ACRRM. So what a privilege to be president at this time. The changes for training, with the transition to regional training organisations, college selection being on the horizon, and just quite a fluid environment with lots of ideas coming. It's exciting. It's very exciting. When I first joined the ACRRM board, 12% of ACRRM members were female. I was appointed as Director for Women in Rural Practice, and I took that on as a challenge to address. At that time, 33% of rural doctors were females, and it was approaching 50% of medical students were female. And I put to the board at that time that unless ACRRM examined itself very carefully and thought about what support rural female doctors needed and what support medical students needed, female medical students needed, they would lose the future workforce. And all power to the board of the time. They dedicated, they put a budget in for a support program for doctors, women doctors in rural practice. And within 2 years, we had close to 33% of ACRRM membership, and it is now a bit higher than that and continues. There's now so our second president of ACRRM was Dr. Lexia Bryant, and she was a real role model for many of the leaders in ACRRM at present. I know that she mentored me, and she also mentored Lucy Walters, and there are many other women doctors who she supported. And she consciously took on that role because in her time, she had not had such mentorship. And I have always aimed to be a role model and to mentor young women entering rural practice and establishing in rural practice. Now, that had to be quite a conscious decision, because there were times when I think, I'm not going to stand up and be a loudmouth, and then I would hear Lexia Bryant and Joe Wayner's voice in my ear saying, "Stand up and talk. They need someone to follow," and so that's what I try and do. And I see such wonderful, inspiring young women who are acknowledged by the college and supported and promoted, that I know that legacy continues. It's wonderful. I think that there's a lot to be learnt, that the college has a lot to learn from that model, to consider how we support and promote Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander doctors now. And during my presidency, I will be seeking to investigate and promote ways to support Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander doctors, because I believe that it will have a profound impact on rural and remote health and on closing the gap if we can have more Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander doctors out in those rural and remote communities with the skills and supported. We're the Australian College of Rural and Remote Medicine. Now, I believe that we have to very consciously continue repeating, rural and remote medicine. There are more doctors working rurally than remotely, so we therefore need to be careful that we maintain the rage about the paucity of health service provision in remote communities, and the fact that the further you go from an urban centre, the worse the health outcomes are. From my perspective on Thursday Island now, I'm very, very conscious of the challenges for remote health and remote health services. I think that during my presidency, from my perspective as a remote doctor now, we will have a little more focus on the remote. I hope that you have noticed that I haven't got hair at the moment. That's because 4 months ago I was diagnosed with lymphoma, and I had, not long after that initial diagnosis, I had a transformation to an aggressive lymphoma, and I've been having chemotherapy for the last nearly 3 months. Things are going well. So I'm not working at the moment, but I've just become president of ACRRRM, so I suppose I'm doing a bit of work with that. Yeah. I'm getting my chemotherapy in Thursday Island Hospital, which is one of the most remote hospitals in Australia. I'm getting R-CHOP, which is a fairly complex chemotherapy regime, and it's being done by telehealth. I think that's phenomenal. I think that's really exciting, and I think, and I'm telling the story because I think it's a really good case study just to prod people along. Just because you're remote doesn't mean you can't do stuff. We can do awesome stuff with technology in remote communities, and it doesn't need to be high tech. You know, it can be as simple as Skype and FaceTime, and having a video recorder in the emergency room or the consult room. What is much more difficult to change is the headspace of the participants, and I think we just need to keep telling the stories and talking up how an excellent service can be provided by linking local remote clinicians with the tertiary hospital subspecialists, and then you get a combination at the same time in collaboration of the expertise of the local expert and the subspecialty expert. It's a powerful model. Yeah.